In episode 139 of Renegade Immortal, Wang Lin begins his second transformation into a mortal. He seals away his cultivation and becomes a carpenter, all to prolong the life of his son Wang Ping. Sun Tai passes away, and Wang Lin personally sees him off in burial. With his Ascendant cultivation, Wang Lin sweeps across Thousand Illusion Planet, slaying the Huan family's old ancestor, Huan Wuqing, and forcing every hero of Thousand Illusion Planet to bow their heads. As a mighty figure of the second step, the Huan ancestor had treated Liu Mei as a cultivation furnace and Wang Lin as a thorn in his side. He believed that by devouring Liu Mei's Thousand Illusion Ruthless Tao, he would be able to overpower Wang Lin. But Wang Lin showed him no mercy. With one strike of the slaughtering Luo art, he shattered the formation, and with the power of the scattered devil, he completely killed Huan Wuqing. Through this battle, Wang Lin's name shook the entire Luo Tian star domain. From that day on, no one on Thousand Illusion Planet dared to oppose him again. Yet standing atop mountains of corpses and seas of blood, Wang Lin felt no joy from victory. Through winning every battle, his eyes held no trace of satisfaction, only endless melancholy. Before Liu Mei died, she gave Wang Lin a pill that could disperse resentment, along with the greatest debt of his entire life, his biological son Wang Ping. From the moment this child had yet to be born, he had already become a tool for Liu Mei's revenge. He had been refined into a resentful infant doomed never to enter reincarnation, his entire body wrapped in monstrous resentment. Even though Wang Lin used heaven-defying methods to rebuild his body, there was one cruel fact he could not change. If Wang Ping touched even the slightest trace of immortal spiritual energy, his soul would immediately scatter. His lifespan also could not last beyond 100 years. Wang Lin, who had spent his entire life defying the heavens, felt powerless for the first time. He could crush powerful enemies, overturn sects, and challenge the heavenly Tao itself, but he alone could not protect his own son. And so, he made a decision that no one in the entire cultivation world could understand. He put down all his cultivation. He put down his killing intent and hostility. He put down every dispute of the immortal path. Turning himself into a mortal, he took Wang Ping with him and began the most heartbreaking yet most legendary second mortal transformation in the entire story. He brought Wang Ping to live in seclusion in Fallen Leaf Village on Ranyan Planet and became an ordinary carpenter. Every day, he made wooden puppets and toys for Wang Ping, taught him to read and write, watched him grow up, watched him marry and have children, and watched him age, fall ill, and die. For 73 years, Wang Lin was only an ordinary father. When the village children bullied Wang Ping, he never used his cultivation to retaliate. He only protected the child in the way of an ordinary mortal. When Wang Ping watched others cultivate and pursue the Tao, he knelt again and again, begging his father to let him cultivate. Even though Wang Lin's heart felt as if it were being cut apart, he could only harden himself and refuse. Because of this, he was misunderstood and resented by his son. He bore all the pain alone. No one knew that the old carpenter who spent every day shaving wood in the courtyard was slowly wearing away the resentment inside Wang Ping's body, extending his life and guarding this ordinary life for him. By then, Wang Lin had already lived in seclusion with the young Wang Ping for a full 5 years. This small village, with its clear mountains and beautiful waters, looked especially similar to the hometown in Wang Lin's memories. In the village, there was a Zhou family youth around 14 or 15 years old who loved gathering a group of children around him to tell stories. He said that on Qilian Peak, there had once been immortal mist that could strengthen the body. He had breathed in a mouthful of it back then, and for all these years he had never once fallen ill. Children listened with shining eyes. The Zhou youth even deliberately mentioned Wang Ping among the crowd, saying that it was a pity the mist had disappeared 5 years ago. Otherwise, Wang Ping should have gone to try it too. Wang Ping was only 5 or 6 years old, and his body had always been weak. His face was always pale, and he was shorter than other children his age. When he heard this, his eyes filled with longing. In his heart, he began thinking that when he returned home, he would tell his father he wanted to go to Qilian Peak and search for that mist. The Zhou youth then encouraged the children to practice sword techniques with him, saying that when they grew up, they would roam the martial world with swords in hand. Only when the adults from each household called them home to eat did the children reluctantly scatter. Late that night, when the village had fallen completely silent and Wang Ping was sleeping soundly, Wang Lin sat cross-legged beside the child. Lightning flashed between his brows. The lightning at his fingertip gently pressed against Wang Ping's forehead, then flowed through the child's entire body, drawing out clumps of black qi that seeped from within him. Wang Lin gathered the black qi in his hand and crushed it to pieces. As Wang Ping slept, a faint trace of rosiness appeared on his face. Wang Lin tucked in the child's blanket, then walked into the courtyard. Looking at the moonlight, he softly sighed that 5 years had already passed. During these 5 years, he had erased Wang Ping's original memories and given the child a brand new life. Relying on his carpentry skills, he lived in the village, far away from the slaughter and conflict of the cultivation world. These days felt especially peaceful to him. Every time he watched Wang Ping play wildly with the village children, he would think of his own childhood. Not long after, the hunched figure of Sun Tai entered the courtyard. His body was already at the end of its oil, filled with the aura of death. 3 years ago, he had found this place and had stayed nearby ever since. He was especially fond of Wang Ping. Looking at the sleeping child inside the house, Sun Tai asked Wang Lin how long he intended to accompany this child. Wang Lin remained silent for a long time before saying that he would accompany him through this entire cycle of life. Sun Tai advised him again, saying that Wang Ping's talent was very good. With Wang Lin's cultivation, he could allow the child to walk the path of cultivation smoothly, even giving him advantages greater than the direct descendants of many cultivation families. But as soon as those words were spoken, Wang Lin rejected them without hesitation. Twice in succession, he emphasized that he would never allow Wang Ping to touch cultivation. Not in this lifetime. He had walked the cultivation path for his entire life, so he knew better than anyone how bitter that road was. He had named the child Wang Ping because he wanted him to live this life peacefully and safely, to marry and have children like an ordinary person, and to pass his life steadily and quietly. He would absolutely not let Wang Ping walk his old path. Spring passed and winter came. In the blink of an eye, another 5 years went by. That year, winter arrived especially early. Before winter had even officially begun, a heavy snow had already covered the earth, just like a person's lifespan. No matter how unwilling one was to let go, one could never withstand the urging of time. Sun Tai became older and older. He lived next door to Wang Lin's house and loved sitting in the courtyard, staring at the sky, using memories of his past glory to pass the days. Wang Ping had also grown to 10 years old. His body was still thinner and weaker than other children his age, but his face had finally gained some color. He had grown handsome and delicate, and everyone in the village liked this obedient child. On the morning after that heavy snow fell, Wang Ping hid in Sun Tai's courtyard, refusing to go home. It was because Aunt Zhang from the village had gone to Wang Lin again to arrange a marriage for him. Over these 3 years, Aunt Zhang had come 12 times in total. Many women in the village had taken a liking to Wang Lin, who was gentle in temperament and steady in bearing. But Wang Ping resisted it greatly, fearing that his father would find him a stepmother. Sun Tai smiled and teased him, saying that the Zhou family's second daughter had come looking for him. Wang Ping directly sent her away, then ran back home. At home, Wang Lin was being earnestly persuaded by Aunt Zhang, his face full of helpless smiles. She spoke with painstaking sincerity, urging him to remarry, and even said it was all for Wang Ping's good. After Wang Ping entered the room, he deliberately shouted that he was hungry, interrupting the conversation. Seeing this, Aunt Zhang could only leave helplessly. Wang Ping told his father that he was afraid he would be wronged if he had a stepmother. Wang Lin smiled and promised him that he would never find him one. Hearing this, Wang Ping happily drank the medicine he had to drink every day. He even told his father seriously that when he grew up, he would always stay by his side and take care of him. In truth, Wang Ping had been sensible since he was very young. When he was 4, he once asked about his mother. Seeing his father's gloomy expression, he never mentioned anything related to her again. Life continued in such plainness. Aside from secretly dispersing the resentment inside Wang Ping's body every night, Wang Lin never used any divine ability again. He lived completely like an ordinary carpenter. Yet within these ordinary days, his understanding of life within life and death grew deeper and deeper. His original life and death domain slowly sublimated, moving toward the Tao of karma. This was an opportunity countless cultivators could only dream of. But Wang Lin would rather not have this Tao fruit if it had to be obtained through accompanying his child. Spring passed and autumn came. Another 6 years went by. That autumn, Sun Tai reached the end of his life. The moment of his death, only Wang Lin and Wang Ping stood by his bed. Wang Ping was already 16 that year. His appearance had grown more and more like Liu Mei's, but between his brows and eyes, he carried the same clarity as Wang Lin. He had long since noticed that Sun Tai held a deep, bone-deep respect toward his father. Wang Lin looked at the weak-breathed Sun Tai and spoke calmly, saying that he would definitely fulfill the promise he had made back then. Sun Tai had reached the final moment of his life. Looking at Wang Lin and Wang Ping beside the bed, his face held a peaceful smile. The last trace of lifespan slowly burned within him. Hearing Wang Lin's promise, he looked deeply at him. In a daze, it was as if he had returned to the Rain celestial realm hundreds of years ago. Scene after scene flashed before his eyes, finally freezing on Wang Lin's aged yet calm face. He softly sighed at how brief the boundary between life and death was, then closed his eyes with a smile. The death aura around him instantly grew dense to the extreme, then completely dissipated in the next moment. Looking at Grandpa's son, who had left forever, Wang Ping could not stop his tears from falling. Wang Lin gently stroked his head, his eyes holding the calmness of one who had seen through life, death, and reincarnation. Sun Tai was buried on the back mountain of Fallen Moon Village. The gravestone was carved by Wang Ping himself, and the inscription was signed, "Adopted grandson Wang Ping." Back when Wang Ping was 12, Sun Tai had taken him as his adopted grandson. Wang Lin had not stopped it. But between Wang Lin and Sun Tai, they had always interacted as equals. And just as Wang Ping had sensed, Sun Tai had always carried reverence for Wang Lin deep in his bones. Sun Tai's corpse was burned into ashes by Wang Lin and stored inside a storage bag. This was the promise he had made to the deceased. 1 year after Sun Tai's passing, in the courtyard beneath the setting sun, Wang Lin held a piece of wood and carved it carefully. At the same time, he taught Wang Ping that when carving, one must place one's heart into every cut. Only when every stroke was carved into memory could one truly be called a craftsman. Wang Ping followed his father's example and carved seriously. When the sunset had completely faded and lamplight rose in the courtyard, he finally asked the question hidden deep in his heart. He asked why his father would not let him learn the immortal methods Grandpa's son had left behind. He also asked whether his father was an immortal too. Wang Lin admitted plainly that he was only a cultivator. He also clearly told Wang Ping that a life of cultivation was not suited for him. This was the first time in Wang Ping's 16 years of life that he had objected to his father's arrangements. But Wang Lin's attitude was incomparably firm. Once again, he sternly rejected the idea of Wang Ping cultivating. In the end, Wang Ping lowered his head and agreed, but his retreating figure was filled with loneliness. Wang Lin told him that aside from cultivation, he could give him everything else in the world. In the blink of an eye, 3 more years passed. Wang Ping was 19, having grown into a handsome, tall young man. Wang Lin, too, had gained even more signs of age over these 19 years. He packed up the things in the house and brought Wang Ping away from Fallen Moon Village. Companions who had grown up with Wang Ping came to see him off. Many of the girls had eyes filled with reluctance. The Zhou family's second daughter, her eyes red, asked whether he would ever return. Wang Ping only said that he probably would not. The girl cried out that she hated him, then turned and ran away. On the road, Wang Ping complained to his father that those girls were too troublesome. But he also admitted that when he saw the girl crying just now, he still felt somewhat reluctant to leave. Hearing this, Wang Lin turned back and smiled at his son. Among the mountains and rivers of Renegade Planet, the figures of Wang Lin and Wang Ping could be seen all year round. First, they traveled across all the famous mountains and great rivers of the region. No matter how steep or dangerous the peaks were, none could stop them from climbing upward. During 3 years of mountain climbing, Wang Ping's originally weak body gradually gained strength. Every time he stood at the summit and looked out over heaven and earth, his state of mind was cleansed and elevated. Even though he remained immortal, through crossing obstacles again and again, he developed a resilience that refused to yield to heaven and earth. Wang Lin never taught him even the slightest method of cultivation. Instead, through this way, he gave him the strongest nourishment and impact upon his heart. After conquering the mountains, the father and son took boats across rivers, traveling along a great river that wound around more than half of Renegade Planet. After that, they sailed a sea vessel into the vast ocean. During 5 years of sailing, Wang Ping witnessed the magnificence of heavenly lightning striking the sea. He saw enormous whales as large as villages. He also saw vague, illusory mirages upon the water. Tolerance and vastness of mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas completely transformed his state of mind. Even without the slightest trace of cultivation, his heart had already become broad enough to contain heaven and earth. Wang Lin had taken Wang Ping across the world in order to disperse the resentment deep within his soul. Pill and spells from before could only suppress most of the resentment. But that resentment had long since fused into Wang Ping's soul and bones. Only through purification of the heart could it slowly be dissolved. After 8 years of travel, only the final trace of resentment remained in Wang Ping's soul, a remnant that no spell or pill could erase. Could only be completely wiped away when he entered reincarnation. That year, Wang Ping was 27. He had long since shed his youthful immaturity. What remained on his face was steadiness and determination. The father and son returned to their old land and climbed to the top of 𝐸 Peak beside Fallen Moon Village. The summit, a thunderstorm had just passed. After the rain stopped, a brilliant rainbow hung across the sky. A cultivator riding a flying sword happened to roar past before their eyes. This was the first time Wang Ping had personally seen the legendary immortals, and his heart was greatly shaken. Once again, he asked Wang Lin to teach him the methods of cultivation. Wang Lin merely looked at the rainbow fading in the distance and silently shook his head. On the way down the mountain, Wang Ping remained silent the entire time. Inside the carriage heading toward a nearby great city, he brought up his wish to cultivate for the second time, pressing his father to tell him why he always refused. Wang Lin turned his head and only looked at him calmly. He did not say another word. In the end, Wang Ping still lowered his head and softly accepted his father's decision. But inside the carriage, Wang Lin looked at the scenery flashing past outside the window, his eyes filled with sorrow and bitterness that could not be dissolved. The silence inside the carriage grew heavier and heavier. Wang Ping looked at the deepening wrinkles on the side of his father's face, and a strong sense of guilt rose in his heart. He was the first to break the deadlock, softly apologizing to his father. Wang Lin turned around and smiled gently at him, saying nothing more. Carriage traveled all the way into Qishui City. This was the secondary capital of the Great Qin Empire on Renegade Planet. It was close to rivers and streams, and its bustling streets far surpassed every place Wang Ping had seen before. Looking at the crowded flow of people on the streets, Wang Ping also cast aside the earlier unhappiness. The father and son entered a finely decorated restaurant in the eastern part of the city and sat down by the window. After the food and wine were served, Wang Lin told Wang Ping that they would settle here from now on. Later, they would go buy a residence. Wang Ping smiled and agreed. He sighed that after seeing mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas, stepping once again into the smoke and fire of the mortal world gave him a strange feeling, as if he had suddenly returned to human life. As soon as he finished speaking, a scoff came from the neighboring table. The one who spoke was a young man dressed in luxurious purple robes. Beside him sat an old man with gray hair and a valiant-looking woman. Because his junior sister had glanced at Wang Ping a few more times, the young man had already been displeased. Now he used Wang Ping's words as an excuse to mock him, saying that someone with no experience of the world was pretending to understand lofty ideas like leaving and entering the mortal world. When he saw the woman show irritation, he vented all his anger on Wang Ping. In front of everyone, he insulted him, saying that it was a pity such looks had been born on a man, and that he was only fit to be a male plaything. Through being provoked again and again, Wang Ping put down his chopsticks. He turned his head and followed the young man's words to strike back, saying that although he had been born with a handsome face, inside he was no different from a beast. These words instantly enraged the gray-haired old man at the same table. He shouted sharply that Wang Ping had no upbringing, then raised his hand and flicked out a pair of chopsticks straight toward Wang Ping's shoulders. If that blow landed, Wang Ping's arms would be crippled for the rest of his life. But just as the chopsticks flew in front of Wang Ping, they suddenly lost all force and drifted lightly down beside the table. Wang Lin set down his wine pot and raised his eyes, looking coldly at the old man. With only that one glance, it was as if 10,000 bolts of thunder exploded in the old man's mind. A sharp aura pierced straight into his soul, instantly cracking the golden core within his body. The old man had been a core formation cultivator, but now his whole body froze. His hands and feet trembled beyond his control, and he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with the shattered aura of his golden core. Chair and body together, he fell to the floor. In panic, he took out a pill and swallowed it. Then he immediately crushed a jade transmission slip to call for help. The restaurant instantly fell into dead silence. The diners stood up one after another, hurriedly paid their bills and left. The young man in purple and the woman traveling with them were both stunned where they stood, shocked by the sudden turn of events.